and downloading KCAA, celebrating 25 years.
KCAA Radio, Loma Linda, where no listener is ever left behind.
Here we are, another day for the Cool Veteran Show. We're going to change that name to the Cool Veteran Hour. I'm your host, Charles Whitehead, and it's been a long day, busy day, and I'm going to call in. Well, I'm out in the field again. You know, we're doing things, so we're going to have our hostess, Martha Varela and Elizabeth Gall on today. Elizabeth's going to be bringing us the Business Corner, and Martha's going to be joining us here soon. So we've been out here at well, first of all, let me tell you, this is the Cool Vet Show, and we're here on KCAA, of course, the station that leaves no listener behind. It's a little noisy where I'm at, but we will try to make this work. But, you know, we're out and about in the field again, and things are moving and shaking. We were at the American Heart Association today. And, of course, you know, it was a heart walk, which was a good thing. There are a lot of things come out of that. But I just want to let you know, this is where I am. I'm scrambling, but I'm here. And I think it's going to be another good day. Let's see. We want to give it up to Joe for, you know, making everything happen right. You know, our engineer over at KCAA. And I really, really, really want to give it up to you, the listeners, because without you, we have nothing. So everything is good. I don't know if Elizabeth is on yet, but when she gets here, we will make it happen. Give us a few minutes, and Martha Varela is going to join us, and we are going to make a show of it today. Again, you know, like what they had the walk there. I can tell you right now, they had the Heart Walk today at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena, and so what we did, there was a lot of people. I mean, like there were 5,000-6,000 people just doing the walk, and there were a lot of vendors there. They had music, they had blood pressure checks, they had stroke. There are people who were, I mean, just you name it, anything associated with the heart. You know, they had healthy food, they had people. UCLA, USC, KTLA, you know, there was the news was there. It was a fun event. My first year doing it was last year, and of course it was fun. It's fun. It's not too hot. Just, you know, it starts off early in the morning. It just kind of goes to 11 something, and we made some great connections with our American Heart Association connections, and give it up to her for hooking us up with Niagara Cares, Southern California Edison, and there's been a lot that really came out of it. And we got to give it up to the American Heart Association for buying us at the PBA California chapter. They bought us a brand new commercial refrigerator freezer, and these things don't happen unless we're out here, you know, hitting the streets and making connections. And this is the part of my job that I really love. You know, this is what we as an organization should be doing for the members and the people who really who want to be part of the PBA, Paralyzed Vets of America. Of course, you know, we're based in Long Beach. We are the California chapter. And, you know, again, you know, we just enjoy, and I say we because I know it's a we. Myself and the people who showed up today, our team, we enjoy doing these kind of things, you know, especially when it comes to the community. I mean, you know, you can't go wrong with it that way. And, I mean, that is, for me, the bread and butter of, you know, just being in the community and doing what I do. I absolutely love it. I know Martha's she's doing something at the end, and Elizabeth, Business Corner Lizzie, will be here soon. Um, and
I'm
when
here.
she comes on, oh, there you are. Well, how are you today, Lizzie? I call her Lizzie. I'll call her Lizzie.
I'm doing great.
How are you today?
I'm doing great. You mentioned we just finished up our event in partnership with the
Oh,
American
this
Heart
is Martha, not
Association, who
Elizabeth.
does
Okay,
the
my bad.
American Heart Walk. So we're
This is
doing
Martha
great.
Gorilla. Go ahead. Sorry.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So yeah, as I mentioned, we just got done with the American Heart Association Heart Walk LA, which is held every year in Pasadena, California, during the month of September to bring awareness to heart health, stroke awareness, all of the important stuff we need to know regarding heart health. And so we're happy to have been able to support again the efforts of the American Heart Association, who is one of our community partners, very important community partner of the CVA California chapter, and just again happy to have gone now 2 years in a row. Very cool event.
So you did go 2 years 2 years ago, huh? See, I wasn't privy to this kind of stuff before. Did you say 2 years in a row or 3 years?
This is our second year.
Oh, okay,
that we've
okay.
gone. Yeah.
I was talking to one of our other board members, and he said that you guys went to something else, but that wasn't this. Yeah, no, this is fun. This is fun. I really like this event. It's all about healthy. And we found some things today that you assume that, oh, if I drink this, drink too much of that, or whatever, it's okay. But you find out. These people out here they're doing blood pressure checks. They're doing all kind of CPR training. These things that you can see that without being here, or like if you work somewhere, if you don't do the training, you won't know. And so it's very educational and entertaining to see this and to hear some of the stories of the survivors. It's like, wow, okay. People tell their stories of what happened to them. It's like, and they're here to tell those stories. That is a blessing itself. For me so anyway, go ahead, Martha. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I also thought it was really awesome to see the teams of people that came together in honor of a loved one that passed away, from a heart attack or a stroke. That was also really exciting to see, keeping people's memories alive and family members that have unfortunately, succumbed to the issues around heart, stroke survivors also were honored. So it's really good to just, again, bring awareness, the importance of awareness to the symptoms, signs. Again, as Charles mentioned, I also took advantage of getting my blood pressure checked and rechecked, and it was actually at the event last year that kind of was alerting to me that my blood pressure was a little elevated. So, these important things sometimes we don't slow down to pay attention to really do matter. And so, again, I got my blood pressure checked today. I'm on the border, it's a little elevated, but now, like I said, got to watch it, put some things into play in terms of diet and exercise to help monitor my personal blood pressure. So, yeah, it's important.
All right. Well, yeah, it makes a difference. You can't ignore that stuff because, hey, either you check it out and keep it under control, or hey, if you ignore it and it gets out of control, then then you have to, the consequences may not be the one that you necessarily consider would be. So, yes, for that reason, it's good to have these things. I mean, you're talking about thousands of people coming together to do this, and I mean, they had their dogs, and I mean, it's just it was like it was a happy event. They're giving away heart healthy foods. things that that you can't just come down and say, okay, we're here now. Where's the bacon and the sausages and all of that? The fried foods. So no, not today. You come over here, you're gonna get avocado. You're gonna get things that are heart healthy and healthy for you all the way around. So, that's what we've been doing. Has Elizabeth made it on yet? Or is she
Yes, I'm
dialed
here.
in?
Good afternoon.
All right, Elizabeth, how are you today? This is Elizabeth Yao. She's our third segment. She's our another hostess, and she's going to be hosting the Business Corner. And she has a lot of good information. So tell us, Elizabeth, how's it going? How's everything with you?
Oh, it's going well. How is your heart walk?
Oh, it's been, it was early enough where it wasn't too hot because, me, I can't be in the cold. And, and I can deal with the heat, but it wasn't too hot. Things were perfect, and it was perfect. It was nice. A lot of people, a lot of information, we had one of our guys come, and he was cranked up, ready to do the walk. I said, go ahead. I said, I retired to the booth right now. So he took off, and he came back, and he's like, oh, man, my hands are dirty, and da-da-da. He pushes a wheelchair. So, but it was good. It was great. Martha was just kind of giving some a few little details and things like that. But, how's your day going? Is it hot where you are, and are you ready to give us some of that good information about the Business Corner?
Yeah, it's a hot one today in Glendale. It's nice and sunny, but hot nonetheless, so I welcome it and just praise the Lord for it. I am ready whenever you are, so you just let me know when, Charles. Thank you.
Okay. Martha, I know we just kind of somewhat cut you off. You have a few more words?
No, that's fine. Go ahead, Liz. Let me go ahead.
Okay. So then what we'll do is we'll take our first short break, and then when we come back, we will get into it a little bit more. So see you in a few minutes.
Take time to tell you just how my love maneuvered through my world. I always had the highest respect for her because she was a Christian girl. I always thought of her as the prettiest thing a guy could ever want to see. I don't know how she blew my mind. It's like she put a spell on me. She also used to think very high of me and thought that I was really cool. I remember when, back in the days, I used to make her laugh in school. That's because she's the one
I gave my heart to.
She's the one,
no one compared to.
She's the one,
the one my love.
She's the one
I'm always thinking of.
Back in the days when I was young and every day was always good, hanging out with my homeboys in my old neighborhood. We used to talk all of the time about the girls that we would date. If you had 2 or 3 or more, you really topped the Mackin game. There was the one, when she came around, with me she used to have her way. All she had to do was look in my eyes, and I was hers the rest of the day. That's because she's the one
I gave my heart to.
She's the one,
no one compared to.
She's the one,
the one my love.
She's the one
I'm always thinking of.
She's the one
That breaks me down.
She's the
I
one
wanna be around.
She's the one out with. Some of them are still into playing games. I guess they'll always be doing it. I can truly say the one that I have has surely been worth the wait. Yes, cause now she's my wife and my best friend. But best of all, she's my soulmate. I can tell you she's the one.
I gave my heart to.
She's the one.
No one compared to.
She's the one.
That one my love.
She's the one.
I'm always thinking of.
She's the one.
I gave my heart to.
She's the one.
No one compared to.
She's the one.
That one my love.
She's the one.
I'm always thinking of.
She's the one.
That breaks me down.
She's the
I
one.
wanna be around.
She's the one.
That endless say.
She's the one that always makes my day. 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 Makes my
All right, we are back. That was called "She's the One." That was a song I wrote a few years back, way back, and I redid it, and I'm still working on it. You know, so this is like a kind of a demo thing. But yes, so Elizabeth, are you ready to shoot us with the shoot us some good information here about the business corner?
I am. Thank you so much, Charles. I want to say thank you to Charles and to the Paralyzed Veterans of America, and especially to KCAA, the station that leaves no listener behind. Once again, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where you happen to be listening in from around the world. And thank you all for joining us today. I am Elizabeth Yo, United States Navy veteran, certified business coach and trainer with the John Maxwell team, host of the Faith and Leadership podcast on Spotify, and host of our business segment, The Business Corner, dedicated to helping veteran and civilian business owners, entrepreneurs, and leaders. And each month, we will highlight a topic, provide information, services, and resources to help you both personally and professionally. And our topic for this wonderful month of September is growth. And as we all probably know and agree, growth is really critical in life, and especially in the life of a leader. In order to become better human beings or even advance our careers, be a better spouse or parent, to reach our financial goals, even to enrich our souls, we have to grow. And we can even look at gardening or farming, right? We can't plant a seed for flowers or food and expect a full bloom or harvest the next day, right? So that is not how life or horticulture works. Growth does really take time. So the question is, do you have a plan for your personal growth? And as I mentioned in our previous segment, most people never really consider this. Their strategy usually is working hard, but working hard does not necessarily guarantee success. And it is this misconception that sometimes keeps us from growing personally and even professionally. So it's really important for us to be very intentional about growing and expect to make mistakes along the way, because growing can be a very messy business. However, we have to look at those mistakes, right, as a sign that we are moving in the right direction. So in our last segment, we touched on 8 common misconceptions that can keep us from growing. And we reviewed the first 4, which were the assumption gap, the first one. This is where we're assuming growth happens automatically, right? Just like from a baby being born, automatically, most of the time, right, the baby naturally is growing that growth is taking place all the way through their teen years. But in growth personally and professionally, that's not automatic, right? We have to be intentional about taking action. And then second was the knowledge gap. And this is about not knowing how to grow. But this is the blessing of segments like ours or podcasts, books, articles. There's so many different outlets and media available in this day and age now that we can continue our growth and continue to improve. Lots of resources out here that are available to us. And then there's the timing gap. And this is for people who are waiting for the right time to begin, right? And then what about the mistake gap? This can hold us back as well, being afraid of making mistakes. And this is sometimes where we hear the term analysis paralysis being used, right? Because it certainly can set in. So in today's segment, we're going to review the 4 remaining misconceptions, beginning with number 5, the perfection gap, which says I have to find the best way before I start. So the problem is waiting for the best way, the perfect way, before actually starting the growth process can be very, very long set in that we don't usually end up starting. Procrastination is never our friend. And then number 6, the inspiration gap, which says I just don't feel like doing it. So I want to remind you or see if you know, who is Dan Whedon? Do you all know who he is? He is actually the co-founder of Whedon and Kennedy. They founded this advertising agency, in quotes, that did not actually like advertising. They wanted to simply inspire their customers and clients. So in 1988, they did just that. They adapted a phrase to create a motivational tagline for Nike. Do you all remember what it was? Just do it. But contrary to what many people think, motivation is not going to strike you like lightning, right? It is not something that someone else can force on us either. So forget about motivation and just do it. Because once we actually start doing something, motivation actually comes along and makes it easier for us to keep going. So what we have to do is just make a commitment to ourselves that this is the year when we start a project or we start on a goal that we actually start it and stick with it for at least 1 year. We want to just do it. And then number 7 is the comparison gap. And this says others are better than I am. But we have to learn something, and we do along our journey in life, don't we, that we have to be comfortable with being out of our comfort zone sometimes, right? We need to expose ourselves to people who are bigger and better leaders outside of our own small circles, because we want to be confident and not only sharing ideas, but also learning from those who may have many more and much better ideas than ourselves. And I heard from an executive once, he said, if you are the smartest person in the room, you need to leave the room, right? There are many people who desire to always be the smartest person in the room, never really trying to learn anything, but always having a desire to always teach or tell someone else something, right? And for many, these are not necessarily people want to be around, right? That's the truth. So we want to always give ourselves those opportunities to continue learning. And then last, number 8, the expectation gap, which actually says, I thought it would be easier than this. So we all know, again, growth does not come quickly, nor is climbing to the top easy. It does really all start with preparation, and that does take time. But as the famed Jim Rohn author says, you cannot change your destination overnight, but you can change your direction overnight. So if we want to reach our goals and fulfill our potential, we have to become intentional about personal growth. And we can do this in 4 simple ways. The first is ask big questions. So where do we want to go in life? What direction maybe do we want to go in? What's the farthest you can imagine going? Because if you're going to be thinking anyway, you may as well think big, right? And then second, do it now. Don't wait. Don't procrastinate. Just do it. And then third, last, just face the fear factor. And what does that mean? Maybe you have a fear of failure. Maybe you do fear stepping out of your comfort zone. Maybe you have a fear of being overextended financially. Maybe you have a fear of what others might say or think. So let's just remember this. Write this down. We feed our faith and we starve our fear. If we're intentional about growing, we can expect to make mistakes every single day, but we want to welcome them. We want to learn from them. We want to take them as a sign that we are actually moving in the right direction. So I would love to hear your thoughts on the topic. You can always give us a call here at the station at 909-383-1000. Again, 909-383-1000. Would love to hear what you think, what your experience or testimonies may be around this topic. Or you can send a message to me. I'm on Instagram. I'm on TikTok at VetChairs. Or you can join me on the Clubhouse weekdays, 5 to 6 a.m. California time in the Faith and Leadership House. Also, if you need help, if you have questions about your business, starting a business, maybe something in your professional journey, please feel free to reach out to me. You can visit me at my website. You can call the station here, and we can connect. So back to you, Charles. What are your thoughts on this topic today?
Well, I think everything you said is true, especially about the expectation part. You know, you go in, you say you want to start a business, and, you know, you said, oh, yeah, I'm going to just take the market over for doing all of this, and then, you know, I'll be making all of this money, and I'll be so successful. I can quit my job, and I can do this and that. And then the reality comes and knocks at your door and says, doesn't work like that, you know. So you have to plan on, you know, you have to understand that everything we go through is going to be challenged. And so that's with anything. You know, you have a challenge, so you have to kind of prepare your psyche kind of to say, well, okay, you know, hey, I mean, I've done it myself. You know, I've started businesses and they didn't work out, or I've, you know, started projects and I had problems that, you know, unforeseen problems. And it's kind of like it goes with the territory. You know, you can't be successful unless you fail on something. I've never met anyone or heard anyone who was absolutely, completely successful at everything that they did. Now, if somebody knows that person or know of them, let me have their number or let me have a way to get in touch with them. I want to know exactly how they pull it off. You know, but you know, we as people, we tend to have sometimes we have delusions of grandeur. You know, you think you know, things are going to be way better than they really are. You know, we kind of, you know, and it's easy to slip into the unrealistic world when you're trying to do something. You know, you have to make sure that whatever you're doing, you do your research, you put time in it. You have to make sure, you know, things are as planned, because a lot of times, you know, it takes one thing to ruin your plan. So, yeah, absolutely, you know, and then I mean, the experiences, you need that experience as well. Again, like I said, without failing on something, it doesn't have to be that you fail miserably or big, but, you know, just the littlest failure could you know, can be the one that takes you down. And I mean, Martha, I know Martha's still on the line. Are you still with us, Martha?
Yes, I'm here. Very helpful information. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, you know, kind of. I mean, you know, because you're you know, a coach, and you know, like things like that. You've coached in your life. So give us some of the, you know, like what these subjects that Elizabeth's talking about. I'm sure you've experienced some of this stuff, haven't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the importance of being okay with failure, is a really realistic and very important thing to point out. This real life doesn't always happen on a convenient schedule, right? That perfect job or the perfect opportunity doesn't always present itself in the most perfect way or at the perfect time by any means. And so it's always good to have, that to really think about and, be realistic about it because it doesn't always happen in that quote unquote perfect way. So again, it's very great information to share, whether you're new or, into the job market or you're changing, to a new position or as Charles mentioned, as a coach, as an entrepreneur, I have tried different things along the way and have been happy with that, as opportunities present themselves. But it was interesting because I had a conversation today with, our contact at the American Heart Association who talked about, being on the board of directors and having a different opportunity present itself. And I was very excited to even be considered again, not realizing that, you'd have seen what I look like today when we showed up. We're, at the Heart Walk in our, stretch pants and T-shirts because we knew, having gone a couple of years, it's in the, in kind of a grassy, muddy, dirt kind of area. I mean, again, I wasn't dressed up to be, presented with an opportunity like that, quote unquote. But like we heard, these opportunities present themselves in their own way, at their own timing. And so very fitting message for me today, actually, as we attended our event earlier. And as you mentioned, an opportunity presented itself. And I was very grateful, very thankful, and very surprised because I, again, didn't look and fit the part necessarily. But that's just realistically sometimes how it all happens. So thank you for sharing that. Great information.
Oh, I'm so glad. Thank you so much. I always am hopeful that, the information is beneficial, and that's what it's all about. Just sharing information, sharing resources, sharing our testimonies, over the last few years, even especially as a business coach, listening to people's journeys and experiences, their challenges, it really does help develop us personally. We can learn from others and what they've experienced, and then it preps us for those opportunities when the moment is there, when it's presenting itself, because you can't always know when it's going to happen. Life is so not planned. Even the best plans, the best laid plans, you never know how God's going to show up and just surprise you with something way out of left field. So I'm so glad to hear that, and that you were ready for it. So I heard a speaker say, don't wait until you're invited to speak somewhere. Always be working on your speech. Always be working on what it is you would like to present if you were given the opportunity, so that when the opportunity comes, you're not scrambling to prep for it, but you're already prepared. So being intentional about those moments really is critical, right? So it's lovely to hear that kind of feedback.
It is, so I want to take a quick break, and then when we come back, we're going to go to our final segment, and then we're going to we'll go from there, and then just continue on with some of this good information that we have. This is the Cool Veteran Show. It's going to be called the Cool Veteran Hour. And, what we do here is we're not talking about, PTSD or anything. There are plenty of shows for that. We talk about job opportunities for veterans and people with disabilities. We talk about music. We talk about things like this and these events that we go to with the PVA. When we come back, Martha, just touch on you guys did that horse therapy again. I know you guys get real excited. When we come back, we're going to touch on that, and then we'll be back.
Okay.
There's a cool place just south of L.A. where the people go to work and the people go to play. So many sights for you to see. You can take the family through, like the Queen Mary ship and the aquarium too. Once a year you'll see Cars racing in the streets. People come from everywhere, checking out the Grand Prix. Go to see a show, or find a place to be. The place you wanna go, where the people wanna be is in downtown Long Beach, Southern California, USA. Downtown in Long Beach, the city by the waterfront, where the people work and play. Downtown in Long Beach, higher in the air, you can see the skyline. You can even see the port that's busy all the time. From the shoreline, you can take off on a cruise or hang out at the beach and just enjoy the view. People seem to be out shopping everywhere. At the farmer's market, the freshest food is there. If you're going for a date or going just to see, something's always going on downtown in Long Beach. Downtown Long Beach, Southern California, USA. Downtown in Long Beach, the city by the waterfront, where the people work and play. Downtown in Long Beach, city of Long Beach, where the business people often meet. Downtown in Long Beach, there's always something going on when you get to Long Beach. Downtown in Long Beach, you might just fall in love with Long Beach. You might just fall in love with Long Beach. You might just fall in love in Long Beach. You might just fall in love in Long Beach. You might just fall in love.
All right. So we are back. What we're going to do is, Martha, give us a quick summary of what you just did with this horse program that it's a project that Equine Therapy. I'll let you explain. Go ahead. You don't have to tell us full details, but I know the women who went were very excited about it. Go ahead.
Yes, so it's a new collaborative effort between the Barbara Giordano Foundation, who works with women veterans on the East Coast and state of New York, upstate New York to be exact. Virginia Giordano is the sister of Barbara Giordano, who was a Kaiser, well, not a Kaiser, but a nurse, who just really dedicated herself to health and wellness and tried to come up with some cutting-edge new healing modalities. So aside from yoga and meditation and some of the more traditional or more common health and wellness modalities or healing modalities, trying to think outside the box to come up with some things that are just as impactful, but maybe brand new, cutting edge. So with the help of the Barbara Giordano Foundation, we were connected to the Horse Project, Better with Horses, located in Santa Barbara, California. And we're part of this wonderful new pilot program to bring the equine therapy to women veterans, and in particular, the women veterans that are in wheelchairs. So we were able to go for our second retreat this past weekend, again to Santa Barbara, and participate in the equine therapy. And it's not just the equine therapy, I must say, although it was very, very powerful, very spiritual, very powerful, very magical. Nothing like riding horses or going horseback riding that you may have experienced as a young child or even in your adult years. This was, these horses had been rescued, so they've all had some sort of their own, stories coming to the ranch, coming to the Horse Project. So the magic that happens between the horses and the women veterans was just amazing. We were able to participate in some health and wellness activities as well. So the importance of nutrition and not skipping meals and really being mindful of what, food you're putting in your body. And they also modeled that for us by providing us with, very healthy meals, very quick and easy, healthy meals that, as women, as mothers, as, wives, as all the other roles that we play that keep us busy and make it difficult sometimes for us to just come home after a long, hard day at work and throw a healthy, nutritious meal on the stove. Is actually a lot easier than we think it is, and sometimes that reinforcement, that modeling, that support that is also built into this health and wellness program that we've learned in between the 2 retreats that we've gone on now was equally as powerful and as amazing. Because again, sometimes as we get busy with the hustle and bustle of everyday life, we just, again, I get it. We all want to be able to get in that kitchen and provide, from scratch meals. But sometimes the food prep that needs, you might have an extra hour or 2 on a Sunday, kind of help get that ready for, the Wednesday and Thursday meals. Just takes a little bit more coordination, a little more thought process. So that was also an interesting and very important part of this pilot program, to really examine, the health and wellness in terms of diet and nutrition. And for many of our women veterans, particularly the women veterans in the TVA that, are already susceptible to different illnesses and, post-injury, we anything that we can do to kind of help be understanding and supportive of their healthcare needs proactively and again, in a very practical way was also important for us to kind of embrace and really incorporate into this pilot program. So really exciting. Again, now as we've finished out the second phase of the program to really look at fine-tuning the program, again, the wonderful part of being around the horses definitely is cutting edge. I think, we've heard some good stuff recently of other organizations that have, really started to incorporate, some of the other alternative healing modalities. But the equine therapy is unlike anything I've ever experienced before. And as a professional who really values, again, some of the cutting edge, new, and I meditate, I love yoga, so I'm not saying anything bad about, some of the other more, common healing modalities and therapies, which are wonderful and much needed. It was really refreshing to be introduced to a new healing modality, such as the equine therapy that, again, outside of the handful of times that I've, experienced horseback riding, this was nothing like this. Having actually done now meditation with horses blew me away. I'm speechless when it comes to, describing what I felt after I left. And again, aside from the horses being, big, beautiful animals and, just very, just in awe in their presence, I've never experienced this and didn't really know, wasn't aware that their biggest organ in their body is their heart. So they can feel your heartbeat from like 5 feet away and really, really are in tune with the human heart. And so when they say heart to heart, this was really something real that we've experienced. And, again, putting the board, we had one board member and one TVA member and myself as part of the, not the advisory committee, but sort of like the pilot, just really hearing them speak on how powerful this was and of an experience this was for each of them was also very rewarding for me. And, we did get a congressional recognition from Salud Carbajal, a military veteran. I think he's a Marine veteran up in the Santa Barbara area, just again for our partnership with this new pilot with the Horse Project and the Barbara Giordano Foundation, again, to build something out for future cohorts of women veterans, not just, the wheelchair TVA women, but we're looking to expanding that to their caregivers and other able-bodied women veterans, because, again, wounds are both visible and invisible, but just to really expand the reach to all women veterans. But it was really exciting, really, really happy and honored to have been able to collaborate with these 2 other wonderful organizations and put together that award-winning program. So you've got the nonprofit, you've got the foundation, and a health and wellness, healing program, the equine therapy program, really, in partnership together to partner and include, this really important segment of the military community. And as we know, the women veteran population is the fastest growing population in the military. And as our PVA national office has tasked us with being able to keep the women veterans' needs at the forefront, really incorporate, their needs into what we do as part of our programming. So it was just really exciting, to say the least. And, like I said, something that I've never experienced before, really excited about continuing, kind of in the last stages of the pilot so that we can extend this opportunity to more women veterans coming up, into the fold. So just so excited to have been able to participate.
So Martha, you guys weren't riding the horses, but
No.
What were you doing? What were you actually doing? I know I've seen some pictures and people are like face to face with the horse. One of the horses was, looked like he was looking like, what's going on here? I was like, oh, watch out now, Mr. Ed. But anyway, but what were you guys doing? And, so if you weren't riding the horses, because I know that, I keep hearing the reviews are like out of the roof and everybody's like excited. So what was it that really, made the experience memorable, the most memorable part of it for you? Or
The meditation.
in general?
The meditation with the horses. So the horses were actually an active part of the meditation exercise. So they actually sit in a circle. They actually come up next to you. As you saw the pictures, some of them, resting their heads on your shoulders. Others were, rubbing their faces on your face. They do this. They're part of this wellness program. So they're used to and actively participate in meditation. We did some tapping exercises with them, and so tapping is another meditation or another therapy, another healing modality where you sort of connect in intuitively with the horse and sort of communicate through some of your own challenges and sort of what you're dealing with on your day-to-day with them. And tapping kind of consists of like it sounds very self-explanatory, the tapping of on your forehead, under your eye, on your chin, on your neck, but you do it on the horse. And then kind of communicate with the horse kind of in silence, obviously, or out loud if you wanted to. But we did some breathing exercises with them. So it's magical when I tell you that, you wouldn't think that this giant creature, this giant animal is so in tune, intuitively, spiritually connected, and enjoy it. I mean, the one horse was actually trying to get the bell out of the basket. So I was like, wow, he must really like this part of the activity, she was trying to get her nose in the basket to get the bell, the sound bell, or the bell that they use to kind of start the meditation exercise. But so that was for me the powerful. But we also did some exercises with them where we were they were what do we call them? I'm at a loss for the word I want to explain. So like not an exhibition, but kind of an obstacle course. So over the last 2 sessions, we've been kind of working with them, learning how to guide them along. So we got them to do a show for the group that showed up on Sunday in celebration of the program. We were able to do a obstacle course, sort of a show for the people that came out with the horses. And so we were practicing, going over some pipes and going through around the barrel and kind of through another little part of the obstacle course, teaching them, well, not teaching them, but them working with us on how to stop and back up and then at the end, how to take a bow in front of everybody in the audience. So we did some of that too. It was really fun. Really fun.
Wow.
That's awesome.
I mean, that's good. And this was something that was created for the women veterans because women we don't have what do women make up in our chapter? Not even
50.
10%.
Yeah,
How much?
50 people out of a membership of 638
Mm.
last time I checked. Oh, but you also brought up another point, and I wanted to give a shout out to the organization that provided us with these track chairs because, as you can imagine, the normal wheelchair was not able to get around or move around in the horse pens that are primarily filled with sand. So they have kind of these similar chairs, track chairs, that you can take to the beach. Because again, a regular wheelchair, you can't get through the sand. So they partnered with the organization. I'll have to get the contact information, but just again, a big thank you to them because what they did was they put the wheelchair and fitted it on top of these tracks, almost like a tank. The same metal tracks that go around the bottom of the Army tank. It was sort of like a mini version that goes to your wheelchair. So they came and brought these chairs free of charge for us to use while we were there, because there would have been no way we would have been able to maneuver through the horse pens to do any of the exercise with the horses without them. And again, they drop them off, they pick them up, they're accessible and available to any program anywhere in the United States. They drop them off, they pick them up because they're able to write grants and get grants to cover the cost of providing these chairs for programming purposes for any organizations that need them. So you don't have to be a veteran serving organization, but any organization that has wheelchair users, that has the need to, again, like this, get to the beach, get on the sand, any kind of all-terrain. I think the only thing that they can't go through is water, but I could be mistaken.
Right.
Just really thankful for them.
Well, that's good. That's great stuff. Having programs like this is a must, and I'm proud to say I'm part of just being able to be part of this kind of stuff for veterans, especially the women vets. Elizabeth, we have like another 3 minutes. Do you have anything that you want to touch on this, and before we close out here? What do you think about this? Elizabeth? I guess she's not with us. But we have about 2 or 3 minutes left, and we want to thank Elizabeth for her business corner. That's a lot of information. That's a lot of information today.
Mm-hmm. It was great, great information.
The business corner, and I like her tips. She broke it down into 2 segments. The last 2 weeks ago, and then she gave us the final today. And then here you come with the horse stuff, because I know the horse stuff is like, it is important, and these things are important because this is research, really. And this is my history in the last 31 years of working and with the research. So this stuff, you find out things that and this is how research works. You do these pilot programs, you see how it works, you find out, you start finding out good stuff, then you start telling the public about it, and people want to do it, and then it becomes big. And this whole thing about the horses, absolutely great. Thing about the businesses, the corner, I really like this because this is stuff that our listeners need to know. And I know we're short on time. Well, we have about a minute and a half or so. I'm not in the office or at the station, but Joe will. When we start hearing the music, then we know it's time to go. But what I'll say is this is the Cool Veterans Show, and we are greatly appreciative of our listeners. This is KCAA. We got to give it up for them, the station that leaves no listener behind. I want to thank my co-hosts, Martha Barilla and Elizabeth Yao. You guys are the ones that are really making this thing happen, and I'm here to do whatever I can to facilitate the information. And what I guess we'll say, we will let you guys go, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. And in the meantime, remember, KCAA 106.5 FM and AM 1050. If I say it wrong, then you can smack me upside the head. But anyway, we are the Cool Veteran Hour.
San Bernardino, Loma Linda, Rialto listens to KCAA Radio.
It's that time of year again. No, not the holidays. Medicare open enrollment. And if you have questions about Medicare, you should talk to the local experts, Paul Barrich and Associates. Paul and his agents are certified with plans that are accepted by most of the medical groups in our area. Call 909-793-0385. That's 909-793-0385. Their services are free, and after 43 years in the business, their agents are trained to help you pick the plan that's right for you.
Be safe, not sorry. Don't drink and drive. Our sponsor, Wham Plumbing, is family owned, proudly serving Riverside and San Bernardino counties, providing residential and commercial repiping, leak repairs, stoppages, garbage disposal, water heaters, and more. Plus 24/7 emergency service, 30-day guarantee, free quotes, and senior and veteran discounts. In a jam, call Wham at 951-482-3970. That's 951-482-3970. Honest and affordable. That's what Wham Plumbing is all about.
Rescue Residence reminds area employers that too often our veterans and their spouses have trouble finding jobs. If you're an employer, join in on supporting our transitioning military service men and women. Bring elite skills, agility, and mission dedication to your organization. Hire smart and hire vets. That's from Rescue Residence in 29 Palms, where they are on the air supporting our veterans, those currently serving, and all military families. For more information, visit rescueresidence.org.
One of the best ways to build a healthier local economy is by shopping locally. Teamster Advantage is a shop local program started by Teamster Local 1932 that has brought together hundreds of locally owned businesses to provide discounts for residents who make shopping locally their priority. Everything from restaurants like Corky's to fun times at SB Raceway and much, much more. If you're not currently a Teamster and you want access to these local business discounts, contact Jennifer at 909-889-8377, extension 224. Give her a call. That number again is 909-889-8377, extension 224.
NBC News Radio. I'm Rob Martier. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says Israel is on the verge of a deal with Hamas to bring all the hostages home. In a televised speech today, Netanyahu cautioned it's not final yet, but he believes Israel is on the verge of a very great achievement and exerting every effort to make it happen. Netanyahu spoke following reports that Israeli airstrikes killed 6 people in Gaza hours after President Trump called for a halt in bombing. The strikes come after Hamas said Friday it has agreed to release all hostages, living or dead, in an effort to start negotiating the peace plan. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker says the Trump administration has informed him of plans to federalize 300 members of the Illinois National Guard and deploy them in his state. Pritzker called it absolutely outrageous and un-American in a statement today. Pritzker added that he will not comply with an ultimatum from the Defense Department to call up your troops or we will. The Department of Homeland Security is planning to offer money to unaccompanied migrant teenagers in exchange for leaving the country. Lisa Taylor has more.
According to multiple reports, DHS will pay the teenagers $2,500 if they voluntarily leave the U.S. Teenagers 14 years or older will be eligible for the payment. The Trump administration has already begun offering adult migrants payments in exchange for self-deporting. I'm Lisa Taylor.
According to reports, Mark Sanchez, the former NFL quarterback who works as a commentator for Fox Sports, was in critical condition after being stabbed in Indianapolis early this morning. Sanchez remains in the hospital, but in a statement posted on X, the Marion County Prosecutor's Office says the IMPD has arrested Sanchez for his alleged role in the incident. The 38-year-old was arrested at the hospital for battery with injury, unlawful entry of a motor vehicle, and public intoxication. Rob Martier, NBC News Radio.
NBC News on KCAA Loma Linda is sponsored by Teamsters Local 1932. Protecting the future of working families, Teamsters1932.org.
When I walked the neighborhood in the autumn, I often passed under a mighty oak and through an ankle-deep blanket of acorns. All that neglected plant protein leads me to ask, why not nuts?
Welcome to the award-winning Food Chain Radio Show with your host, Michael Olson. And now get ready for 1 hour of What's Eating What Radio.
Hello out there. You are tuned into the 1099th edition of the Food Chain Radio podcast. Or hey, perhaps you're among our friends out there in Quebec City who are tuned in as we stream along on the Food Chain page at metrofarm.com. Well, whoever you are and wherever you are, welcome aboard. I am Michael Olson, your host for this hour of What's Eating What. Folks, a few years ago I had the opportunity to visit with Joel and Teresa Salatin at their Polyface farm in Virginia's Shenandoah Valley. While showing me about the many interesting features of Polyface, Joel said, "Would you like to see the Pig-Evaders in action?" Well, who could pass up an opportunity to see Pig-Evaders in action? Certainly not me. Joel drove us up to the top of his farm and into a forest. We stepped out of the truck and followed a trail into the woods, where we quickly began hearing the snorts and grunts of Pig-Evaders in action. There they were, a dozen or so of them, mighty beasts confined by an electric tape, doing what pigs do best, tearing up the ground in search of anything edible. These Pig-Evaders, this land was once a rich savanna, and it provided ample fodder for grazing animals, both wild and domestic. During the Civil War, and afterwards, the grazing animals disappeared. Then the shrubs and pines took over, and the forest became unusable. These Pig-Evaders, Joel said, are turning the forest back into savanna. What happened to Polyface so many years ago happened to so much of America. When the grazers were taken off the grass, the land became covered in weeds, brush, shrubs, and trees. We see the consequence of this loss of savanna in the raging fires of the West. This leads us to ask, if we can reclaim savannas, can we also build a food chain on nuts? Well, who better to ask than Elspeth Hay, who is the author of the brand new book, Feed Us with Trees, Nuts and the Future of Food. Welcome to the Food Chain.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Well, first of all, congratulations on your brand new book, Feed Us with Trees. How did the book signing go, the opening?
It was great. I had a launch party and a lot of fun.
Good. Well, take us back, Elspeth, to that moment when the apple fell on your head and you jumped up and you said, nuts!
Well, in fact, it was an acorn, not an apple, but I live in an oak forest that's protected as part of the Cape Cod National Seashore. And a friend sent me a TEDx talk by a woman named Marcy Mayer, who lives in Greece on a remote Aegean island. And she said that acorns are edible, which I had never heard before. And she also said that they're a superfood and one of our oldest human foods. And I sat there looking outside my window and was completely shocked to hear all of that. And so I started learning a little more about acorns as a food source and started learning a little more about acorns as a food source and learned that actually all over the Northern Hemisphere in a huge variety of cultures, acorns have been a staple food, an everyday food like corn or wheat or rice for thousands of years.
And so you pursued that thought and pursued it and pursued it and pursued it and came out with the book.
Yeah, I kind of couldn't let it go. I didn't expect it to be such a life-altering moment when it happened, but it was one of those things where when I first learned we can eat acorns, I thought, oh, that's kind of interesting. And then the more I learned, the more interesting it got. It turned out there was all this cultural history and social history and economic history and environmental history that was all intertwined in these really surprising ways. And so I just went really, really deep down the tree nut human relationship rabbit hole.
Well, and to show the folks just how deep you went, let's start with savannas. And because that's where we all came from, right? Or at least that's what we're
Yeah,
told.
so yeah, savanna is believed to be, the earliest human habitat, the habitat that we evolved in, and it's basically a grassy area dotted with trees. So big open grown trees with grassland underneath. And I had no idea that in North America, we actually used to have a really extensive oak savanna ecosystem that covered a lot of the Midwestern area that today we know as kind of, the breadbasket of America, where we're growing food in these really rich soils. But it turns out that those soils were created under an indigenous food production regime that was centered on these oak savanna ecosystems and managed with fire. So this fertility was built up over hundreds, thousands of years with this oak savanna and fire regimen. And now for the past 150, 200 years, we have been mining that fertility, plowing the land every year, causing a lot of runoff. And as I'm sure most listeners know, a lot of wreaking environmental havoc, basically, with our row crop system. And so I was really fascinated to learn that, in fact, there was a completely different way of producing food that pre-existed colonial settlement and made a lot more sense.
And you made the case that this might be the basis for a new food chain for agriculture. That is your book, right? That is your challenge to the world.
I think that there's a lot of potential. I grew up with two birdwatcher parents, so I spent a lot of time as a kid out in the woods learning about the habitats of different birds, and I always thought it was weird that every other species was like perfectly adapted to the place where it lived, and then we didn't seem to get anything we needed from our ecosystem. We had to go to the grocery store, we needed these industrial farms, and we were always destroying the wild places to meet our needs. And so right around the time that I learned that we can eat acorns, my mom had gotten interested in this entomologist, so someone who studies insects, named Doug Tallamy. I don't know if you've heard of him, but he's a really interesting guy. And he has done all these studies about plants and which plants support the most insects as sort of a proxy for what plants support the most life in an ecosystem. And it turns out that in most of the places where they exist, oaks are the top life support plant. So they're these incredibly outsized importance ecologically. And I learned that around the same time as I learned we can eat acorns. And I thought, well, that's cool. But, we had to become farmers, right? We can't be hunter-gatherers anymore. We can't rely on these wild foods because they just don't produce enough. And but I was curious enough that I researched a bit. And it turns out that that is really just a story that we've written. It has no basis in actual food yield, actual food production. We have this mythology that our farm system is feeding the world, but in fact, we eat almost none of the corn and soybeans that we produce on these vast expanses of land. And in addition to that, we require huge amounts of input to fuel these systems that we have right now. So yield has to be a ratio, right? It's what you get out for what you put in. And when we look at it that way, these nut trees, not just oaks with acorns, but also chestnuts, hazelnuts, some other species, depending on where you live, are actually quite competitive and outcompete our current monocultural systems in terms of output per acre of land, and also produce, I would argue, tastier and more exciting food.
And so you formulated the idea that we could do this as agriculture. So agriculture is not just what we're doing right now, but in fact it has been practiced for millenniums by people all the time. And it's a different form of agriculture than we tend to think, but maybe we should open our minds and think a little differently.
Yeah, I think we tend to draw a really strict line between agriculture and hunting and gathering. And I think that when we look at the history, that's again sort of a fictional thing that we've made up. If you look at, so I got to know a man named Ron Reed, who's a member of the Kuruk tribe in present-day Northern California. And his people have eaten acorns since time immemorial. It's a huge food in Kuruk culture. And he started telling me about how Kuruk people tend these oak groves that produce acorns. And he was describing the way they do it, which involves a lot of prescribed fire and cultural burns. And he was telling me all the things that fire does. And it was like, okay, fire gets the ground ready for acorns to sprout. So it's preparing the seed bed. Fire controls the water cycle in the Klamath River Basin so that it doesn't get too overgrown and then become more prone to wildfire because it's so dry. Fire was controlling pests. So this acorn weevil that can affect the nuts, the smoke actually helps control those pests. Fire was recycling detritus that's on the ground and acting as a fertilizer. And the more we talked, the more I realized he's just describing farming a different species. It's not like hunting and gathering and farming are these two completely different activities. That's a story that, dominant Euro-American culture has made up to make people feel like there's a difference for a lot of really insidious cultural reasons. But in fact, it's all the same jobs. And I think that when we step back and look at that, there's a lot of people now experimenting with these tree crops in agricultural systems that are, a little more traditional to the Euro-American mind, not necessarily with fire. People are planting them and tending them in the ways that Euro-American culture knows. But in fact, there's so much overlap. And when we start looking at the world that way, suddenly you see opportunities for food production everywhere. And it's really exciting.
I wrote a book about farming small parcels of land in the city, for the city, saying, well, you can make a substantial living if you do this right. And of course, conventional agriculture said, you can't do that. Now, I suspect conventional agriculture is going to look at you and say, Elspeth, you're nuts.
Probably. I'm not too afraid of that, though. I can be nuts. That's okay.
Good for you and good for me. It's okay to be nuts. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking with Elspeth Hay, the author of a brand new book. And it's so exciting. The Feed Us with Trees. What a concept. Nuts and the Future of Food. So Elspeth today is going to present a whole new way of looking at agriculture, a whole new possibility for us. And so we'll all give her a good listen and see if she is nuts, or if nuts is what we should all be. And that's a fun proposition, because as I said earlier, as I opened the show, as I go for my walks through the neighborhood in the autumn, and there are oak trees up the street from us, and I walk underneath them, and it's just a blanket of acorns laying there, doing nothing, maybe feeding an occasional squirrel or whatnot. And the cars drive over the nuts, and it's a regular food chain there. But can nuts and trees and opening up the land to savannas again provide a whole new way for us to enjoy a new form of agriculture? That's the subject right today with Elspeth Hay, who is the author of Feed Us with Trees, Nuts, and the Future of Food. So stay tuned. We will be right back after these messages.
KCAA Radio has openings for 1-hour talk shows. If you want to host a radio show, now is the time. Make KCAA your flagship station. Our rates are affordable and our services are second to none. We broadcast to a population of 5 million people. Plus, we stream and podcast on all major online audio and video systems. If you've been thinking about broadcasting a weekly radio program on Real Radio plus the internet, contact our CEO at 281-599-9800. 281-599-9800. You can Skype your show from your home to our Redlands, California studio where our live producers and engineers are ready to work with you personally. A radio program on KCAA is the perfect work from home avocation in these stressful times. Just type kcaaradio.com into your browser to learn more about hosting a show on the best station in the nation, or call our CEO for details, 281-599-9800.
Hi folks, it's Milan Vukovic from the Tahibo Tea Club. We just received our first shipment since the new tariffs, and because our tea is harvested deep in the Brazilian rainforest, we had to pay a 50% import tariff just to release it. Once we run out of our current inventory, prices will go up. Right now, you can still stock up at today's pre-tariff prices by calling us at 818-610-8088. 1 pound of original Pure Pau d'Arco Tahibo tea is $49.95, or take advantage of our multi-pack discounts such as buy 3 pounds, get 1 free. That's a 4-pack discount of 25% for $149.95, or buy 5 pounds, get 3 free. That's an 8-pack discount to 38% for $249.95. Stock up now. Call us at 818-610-8088 or visit TahiboTeaClub.com. That's 818-610-8088.
And now, the voices of KCAA with an exciting announcement.
Want to hear NBC News or KCAA anywhere you go? Well, now there's an app for that.
KCAA is celebrating 25 years and our silver anniversary with a brand new app.
The new KCAA app is now available on your smart device, cell phone, in your car, or any place.
Just search KCAA on Google Play or in the Apple Store.
One touch and you can listen on your car radio, Bluetooth device, Android Auto, or Apple CarPlay.
Catch the KCAA buzz in your earbuds or on the streets, celebrating 25 years of talk, news, and excellence with our new KCAA app.
Just do it and download it. KCAA, celebrating 25 years.
KCAA.
Let's go back for more of What's Eating What on the Food Chain with Michael Olson.
Welcome back. This is the Food Chain Radio program. Michael Olson with Elspeth Hay, the author of Feed Us with Trees, Nuts and the Future of Food. What happened, Elspeth, to the great savannas of the American Midwest, and actually the West as well?
Yeah, it's a really long and sad story that involves a lot of violence on the part of Euro-American settlers toward the indigenous people of those places.
And trees too,
and
right?
as Euro-American... Sorry?
And trees too.
And trees too, yeah. It's interesting because a lot of Euro-American settlers who came here from Europe as immigrants actually came from places where trees were a really important part of agricultural systems.